Okay, Commissioner Bailey, we're good on the financial statements?
Yes.
Okay, I got a motion by Commissioner Bailey and a second by Commissioner Quintmall. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Financial statements approved. Number 7 is a report from our ARBC Executive Director, Mr. Paul Sawyer. Paul?
Can you hear me? Good. All right. Okay, Commissioners, thank you. Good morning. I want to make this as brief as possible because we have more important items on the agenda. But just real quick, some of the items that we've been working on this past month and that we are planning to tackle later this month. First is Upper Amite Restoration. This is the capital outlay project for which we currently have $2 million in cash. We are looking at properties right now. We're reviewing a whole inventory of properties in the Upper Amite area. Tomorrow, we will meet, or I am meeting tomorrow with the U.S. Department of Agriculture Natural Resource Conservation Service in Alexandria, Louisiana. They have resources available that could help us in our restoration efforts. And it's just good to have a partnership with a federal partner, especially for projects like this, where we potentially could have a long tail on this project. So, as I mentioned, we're looking at properties and we're trying to narrow the focus of opportunities to to do this project. We do have a request for capital outlay. Another request for capital outlay that is being reviewed right now in the legislature. It's another request for $2 million. We feel pretty good about this. I'll keep you posted because the legislature has not yet taken up its big money bills yet. When they do, we expect to be considered in that, and I will keep you posted because there will likely be a need for us to conduct some outreach with legislators, which is, first of all, it's a powerful statement for not just a president of a commission or executive director of a commission, but the parishes and the constituents who are represented by the members of the legislature to hear from you. We also have submitted 17 congressional appropriations requests. I will catalog all of those and send those to you directly so that everybody has an idea of what requests that we have made for the Amite River Basin Commission directly, as well as Amite River Basin on behalf of parishes. So we've made 17. I'll make those. I'll make that list. I'll catalog that list and make that available to you shortly after this meeting, as well as make it available to the public. And then also, each congressional office, when they submit a request on behalf of their constituents, they also have to publicize that on their website. So there's like triple layers of disclosure. Tomorrow morning, we are presenting to the House Committee on Natural Resources the two Representative Kathy Edmonston bills that the Commission has supported. One bill, HB 165. I'll just remind you, that's the bill that removes the January 1, 2026 deadline by which the Amite River Basin Commission must have promulgated watershed management rules. And just a reminder, it is physically and financially impossible for us to comply with that legislative mandate, as well as complying with our other legislative mandates of annual plan and master plan. And so this legislation, which we believe will move pretty quickly and easily, does that. The other bill, HB 172, that bill simply extends current law, which temporarily exempts Bayou Manchac and the Comeet River from this Louisiana Scenic Rivers Act. And just to remind you, the Scenic Rivers Act prevents any activity occurring in a scenic waterway. So when Ascension Parish and East Baton Rouge Parish cleared and snagged Bayou Manchac a couple of years ago, that would have been unlawful and prohibited by the Scenic Rivers Act had that exemption not been in place. The current exemption expires in 2026. we wanted to take care of it now because nobody knows what extenuating circumstances happen between now and a year from now. And then also we don't want that to expire when hopefully we are in Bayou Manchac conducting the work that this commission has supported. I'll leave most of the master plan to Sam to go over. I will say that we are scheduling. We're in the process of scheduling public meetings. The likely locations will be the ones where we had public meetings before, in Ascension Parish, Livingston Parish, East Baton Rouge Parish, and East Feliciana Parish. Please, commissioners, if you have any other thoughts about locations, please let us know. This commission debated and approved those locations at the outset of the public hearing process when the master planning process began. We're working on dates, and we'll run those dates by you as well. We are meeting soon. We haven't set a date yet, but we are meeting soon with Office of Community Development, which, as you know, manages the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. We have a laundry list of items that we need to address with OCD/LWI. Some of them are the projects that are included in our master plan, that are funded and approved in our master plan. Some are East Feliciana, and then some are other ideas and avenues that we want to pursue and explore with OCD that supports our master plan and the projects in our master plan. Those are exploratory conversations. When we see what's feasible, we'll report back to you so that we can have a more informed discussion with OCD going forward. I'll mention also that we have two commissioners not present today who are taking care of their health. I ask that you lift them up in your prayers. Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Harrell, both of whom wanted to be here today. And then lastly, Comite River Diversion Canal and the other Corps of Engineers project that we call the Five Bayous Project. There's nothing substantial to report, no new meaningful progress on any one of those projects. Comite is still underway. The construction that's already underway is continuing. I just remind you that the Corps of Engineers plans to advertise and hopefully execute the last 6 remaining contracts on the Comite River Diversion Canal by the end of this calendar year. And so if those items are approved by the end of this calendar year, then they estimate that, I guess the long hole in the tent is a project that takes more than 900 days to construct. So that really puts us on a timeline of end of 2028, sometime in 2029, of when the Comite River Diversion Canal will be completed. And then on the so-called Five Bayous project, the $255 million Corps of Engineers project in East Baton Rouge Parish. Those are essentially 5 separate projects underway that are at various stages of progress. The two bayous in the north, Blackwater and Beaver Bayou, those are still under very, very preliminary actions in terms of rights of entry and access points for the Corps to get into those water bodies. Most of the work has been done on the lower 3 water bodies, Bayou Fountain, Wards Creek, Jones Creek. However, there is still more work ongoing with those projects, mostly clearing and snagging, but some armoring and riprap. And those projects will probably be completed by 2028. And that project is probably on a timeline to finish 2029, 2030. With that, unless there are any questions, commissioners, that concludes my report.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Paul. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner DeLotte.
Paul, this might be off the record a little bit, and then maybe it's even a legal question. Allen Bayou, Livingston Parish, is in a mid-river designation floodplain. We were thinking we was going to get a grant to do this. This project is $720,000. All the engineer has already been done. Is this a project that can qualify for LWI?
Which project is that?
We call it the Allen Bayou. That's off of 4H Club Road. That's it causes weekly flooding. And the engineering's been done, like I said, and it's around 700, 750. We, Senator Valerie has pledged 250,000 of that, and it's going to be in this session.
Okay. President Delott, if I could add that to my list of topics to discuss with LWI, that would be prioritized.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Rayford?
Yes, Paul, I just wanted to comment, number one, we are meeting with the Corps of Engineers on June 12th to go over the statuses of all the 5 tributaries projects, which do truly help benefit EBR, but also with the understanding to not to push water to other areas of the parish. But that's when our meeting will be held to go over the final details and what we're what the Corps is proposing for the final additions to the Jones Creek project.
Okay. Could I join you on that?
I don't have a problem. I got to check with the mayor, but I don't see any reason why you can't.
Okay. Thank you.
Paul, just clarification on House Bill 172, scenic rivers for Comeet River and Bayou Manchac.
Yes, sir.
Essentially, that bill that has nothing to do with changing the natural integrity, the aesthetic value or function of the rivers. Basically allows the local parish governments to go in and do a little housekeeping, so to speak.
That's a very important point that you've made, and that's one that we will emphasize tomorrow, that the Scenic Rivers Act prohibits everything, and even the superficial clearing and snagging. And I'm not saying what Ascension and East Baton Rouge did was superficial. They did some really meaningful stuff. But even the minor things of moving the obvious trash and the obvious tree stumps out of the water, they could not do that. Scenic Rivers Act could not allow that to happen. The only way for these water bodies to function the way Mother Nature intends is to help clear it out. Otherwise, the ecosystem is compromised. The habitat is compromised. And there is no intention to disrupt or affect the scenic value and integrity of any of these water bodies. But there has to be some give and take, and what is being proposed in Bayou Manchac, and currently there is nothing being proposed immediately in Comeet River. But what's being proposed in Bayou Manchac is modest in terms of its impact on the ecosystem, but it's profound in its impact on drainage and flood mitigation.
Thank you, Paul. Just make sure a lot of people understand that.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. All right, back on our agenda. Under number 8, that'll be our report from our ARBC legal counsel, Mr. Larry Bankston. Larry?
Just a couple of points. One, actually, if the Scenic River statute had not been extended in the Comeet, there's a real question as to whether or not the Corps could have continued to construct the weir that's going to be there. So because of the date in which the Comeet Diversion Canal will be completed, the weir will be one of the last features to be done. And if that's done past 2026, that would be a real question as to whether or not the Corps would proceed with the construction of the weir that will divert the water into the diversion canal, and that would have been problematic. So just for that project alone, that legislation is potentially necessary. Also, we continue to monitor in connection with the Levee Board Association. They have lobbyists that provide us copies of bills that they think are potentially significant for anyone in the levee or water diversion aspect. So we continue to monitor those and work for assistance with that. That is the only thing that we really have right now, is continuing to monitor those two pieces of legislation. I'll answer any questions anybody may have.
Any questions?
Mr. President, if I could
Yes,
ask.
Paul, please.
I just wanted to add one thing that I should have mentioned in the Upper Amite restoration project, that Mr. Bankson, with his experience in the last time the Amite River Basin Commission acquired property, and his experience with that, he has been assisting us and guiding us through what will potentially be acquisition in the Upper Amite. And so he didn't include that in his report, but I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Bankston. Okay, next item is under old business, and looking at number 1 is our master plan, and it's an action item. So, did we want to have a discussion from our contractor on the master plan at this point? Okay, all right. Come on, Sam, and please.
Right. Okay. So it seems a long time ago now, but pretty much about a year ago, we kicked off this project at this meeting here. And since that time, we've had numerous stakeholder engagement meetings. We've had numerous technical workshops with members of the commission and their delegates, and a lot of work's gone on behind the scenes on the engineering and the planning and the writing. And today we present to you the final master plan for your approval. So it's dated today, and you'll see the hard copies in front of you as well as an executive summary. And within this plan, we present 13 physical projects that aim to reduce flood risk, preserve the natural resources of the Amite River Basin. This includes pump stations that move the water out the basin, sediment removal to restore channels back to more natural conditions, ecosystem restorations with flood and sediment reduction benefits. We have major detention to reduce the downstream flooding, new levees to protect from the storm surge on lakes and river-driven flooding, channel improvements to optimize the flow, and then floodplain and green space preservation to help keep that natural function of green space that absorbs the water and stops it running off into our rivers, causing flooding. So these projects are located in various locations throughout the basin, from the upstream to downstream, and one real key thing that we've been able to demonstrate is a solution for one parish may not be within the parish. You've got to look upstream with many of these to actually prevent the water getting there in the first place. And within the plan, you're going to see some detailed project sheets that may be 4 to 5 pages long that give details on each individual project. This includes the top 4 priority projects, which were identified at one of the previous board meetings here, that being the West Shore Connector Levee, the Lower Amite sediment removal, the Bioman check channel improvement and Ward Creek realignment, and the New River stormwater pump station. So all of these are included in the plan. And in addition to physical projects, we have 26 actions that were presented and reviewed and refined during various workshops. And these really aim to further reduce flood risk through actions. May not be a physical project, but just more proactive ordinances, recommendations, things like elevating structures to a high level of service. And then participation in FEMA's community rating system. This is a program that rewards communities for going above the minimum standards and resulting in discounts. And so there's a lot of information within this plan that aligns with the CRS program, and we have recommendations in there on how communities can use the digital and the plan data and adopt that to potentially get CRS credits and get greater flood insurance discounts for their community. And as mentioned, encouraging the adoption of higher floodplain ordinance standards, and we have demonstrated some of the benefits of that within the plan. And then implementing operations and maintenance plans. Any project requires long-term maintenance and optimization of the operations. And then just facilitating local capacity building, whether this is with the local engineering and development communities or whether it's with the general public, but communicating best practices for flood safety and floodplain developments. And then there's so much information through the Louisiana Watershed Initiative as well as this plan that can really help take emergency management and preparedness to a new level. And so there's lots of digital information there that could be housed on a website to really support the emergency management and planning. And then funding of projects. We investigate many different ways of funding the implementation of the projects. One key non-structural project that we really identified in this plan is the state of the effective FEMA flood insurance rate maps and flood insurance studies within the district. On average, the underlying studies behind them FEMA flood maps is over 30 years old, and it uses outdated technology, and most concerning is it uses outdated topography that is very low accuracy compared to the data that you have available now. And when we did a comprehensive review of the entire district, we identified over 30,000 structures that could potentially be removed from the FEMA Special Flood Hazard Area using the more detailed Louisiana Watershed Initiative data. So with implementation of the plan, I mentioned that there was 13 projects. So through some economic assessments that we did, looking at all the buildings within the district and looking at their estimated value and the flood frequency that they see, we determined that the average annual losses for flooding within the district is currently at about $210 million a year. So this includes the AMET, the New River, the full district. And so we're looking at about $210 million a year. The alarming thing is, in 2050, if we take no action, we would expect them direct losses, to go up by an additional 25%. Then if we factor in inflation at a rate of 3%, escalated or compounded for 25 years, the average annual losses go to a staggering $550 million a year without taking any action. So this could be things like increased precipitation, sea level rise, as well as land use change as more development occurs. However, with implementation of the 13 projects, that $550 million, we have the potential to reduce that to less than half of what it was. And so by 2050, in $2050 values, we'd be looking at only $264 million a year. So over a 50% benefit. And this really just highlights how we could go from the potential of $550 million down to $264. So this would be a huge benefit to the community. And finally, we're here today, the plan. We've worked very closely with many of you here to refine the plan, get everybody's concerns addressed in there. And so the plan, it's the first time that all 7 parishes have been directly represented on the Board of Commissioners here and coming together like never before with a transformative plan to reduce flood risk, preserve the natural resources of the Amite River Basin and improve public safety and provide an environment for smart economic development. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, and I hope that we have the support to approve and finalize this plan.
Any questions, Commissioners? Commissioner DeLotte?
Yeah. You had brought up, excuse me, the CRS, and I probably missed most of that part of it. But can you repeat again, what does this master plan do for the CRS rating?
Yes, so I think it's in section 4, there's a detailed section that breaks out all the various activities within CRS, and it maps out how this plan can help meet them various activities. One of the things I think you'll see is the biggest benefit is going to actually be with the digital deliverable. We're going to give you a digital deliverable that has all the technical data in it, and if the communities choose to adopt some of that data for regulating floodplains, then that's an opportunity to gain extra points there. So one thing, for example, I forget which activity number it's under, but there are points for things like using future floodplain conditions to manage floodplain developments. So through this plan, we have that data that you can use. Additionally, with the Louisiana Watershed Initiative data, you have a lot more comprehensive assessment of the floodplains within your parishes through the Louisiana Watershed Initiative that go a lot further and more detailed than the effective FEMA data. Adopting that as an additional standard or guidance for managing floodplain development, these are all things that can obtain points. And so there's a huge list in the report there in front of you in section 4 that will break it out under every different different activity within CRS, even things like preservation of green space. We're making recommendations there. There's with the Upper Amite Restoration Project, restoring the channel, which will help reduce flooding downstream, and just having a plan. And then also there's recommendations in there on how you could use some of this data for real-time flood forecasting. When the National Weather Service is saying that at Denham Springs the river's going to reach a certain stage, you have all the information to correlate that to the digital data we have here, and for real-time forecasting and emergency planning, all of that stuff, there are points available within CRS that would help you get down to a lower class.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any more questions, Commissioner Rayford? No. Public comments? Paul?
Thank you. Three takeaways from Sam's presentation. One, President Delat, Livingston Parish has been very helpful in the CRS portion of informing the CRS portion of this master plan. Your efforts, your floodplain manager has been very helpful in informing what went into the CRS portion of this plan. So Livingston Parish should be proud of that, demonstrating that leadership. Secondly, what I refer to as the money page that Sam showed you on the slide, the $264 million. If these projects are completed, the return on investment is basically offsetting the expected costs of flooding and flood disasters. So that's cost avoidance that this results in. One other very important thing that Sam noted is that just by updating flood maps, we have the potential of removing or reducing 30,000 structures from flood zones. And the estimated benefit of that is $25 million a year in eliminated or reduced flood insurance premiums. So $1 amount is cost avoidance. The other dollar amount, $25 million a year, that's money that goes straight back into the economy. And I'm gonna say something. I don't know how to make this connection, but just playing with numbers, $25 million a year over 10 years, $250 million over 40 years. That's $1 billion. 40 years, that's $1 billion. Whoop-de-doo. The Comite River Diversion Canal, from concept to completion, is a 40-year, $1 billion effort. And so I just put those two together, that one is a cost that has taken forever to, and still is incomplete, that will result in some great protection, very important, indispensable protection, but it took 40 years. Just in reduced premiums, we could, in the same amount of time, we could pump $1 billion back into the local economy just from flood insurance premium reduction or elimination. So I don't know that the two compare or relate, but I just think it's interesting that 40 years and $1 billion on both sides of those equations.
Commissioner Delotte?
The question, Paul, that I have is, Livingston Parish has identified a lot of homes or pieces of property that can be out of the flood map. The issue is that it's very expensive to get a new flood map. So, again, the same question, would these dollars be used from LMI to get a new flood map?
And so that is one of our top priorities. If a master plan is adopted, to immediately find the revenue to update the maps. That's an ARBC priority, to find a way to fund map updates, because the impact is almost immediate in terms of the amount of time it takes to update the maps. It's the easiest, fastest thing that we could do without having to get a permit, without having to design it. I mean, we just find the revenue, and the return on investment for finding the revenue to pay for map updates in terms of what we get out of it, it's off the charts. And so that's why it's an immediate priority for the Amy River Basin Commission, because the return on investment is profound and it's quick.
I'm in agreement with that, Paul. Thanks.
Any other questions? Any public comments on our new ARBC master plan? Okay, hearing no public comments, we're here today to approve the ARBC master plan, and I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Quintmall and Commissioner Rayford. And Tony, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes.
Bird is absent. Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Quintmall, Mr. Delat.
Very happily, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Mr. Dufresne is absent. Ms. Polito, Mr. Harrell, absent. Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Parker's absent. Mr. Rayford.
Yes.
Thank you. It passes.
I would also like to say, this is great. Yeah, I would also like to say that Commissioner Harrell, he's appointed as abroad by our Senate, and pretty much represents the Livingston Parish area and the entire region. He wanted me to pass along that he thoroughly supports the ARBC master plan. He's happy with it. And also Mr. Ed Parker from East Feliciana Parish. He couldn't make it today. He supports the plan as well. So that said, we have a unanimous board roll call vote in support of the ARBC master plan. Thank you all. Commissioner Rayford.
I'd just like to make one comment. Number one, I wanted to wait till after the vote was done, which I knew I was feel fairly comfortable that we were going to approve this. But, you know, it is exciting to know that when you look at the region that we're trying to represent and reduce floodwaters from people's homes, how many parishes are involved, and the commitment that I think all of us made in trying to address this issue of concern for the resident. Not too many times in my 38 years working for the city government have I had, we had this many commitments and support for a project like this. And I just think that says a lot for the direction that we're headed, because I believe once we had that, we're going to be looking to try to get our funds in place to do what needs to be done. We already started that process, but I'm just excited about the fact that the parishes, and we're getting along to try to address, and everybody heard the issues, and we still worked out through those problems, and I think that is a plus for this board. And I just want to make my comments, because as representing East Baton Rouge Parish, this doesn't happen very often, and when it does, I think it's time for somebody to toot the horn, that's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rayford. Commissioner Ferlito.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Dewberry and the team, which included H&TB, Fortin Tablada, Elos, and Laterre. What an outstanding job y'all did putting this together and participating and encouraging all the dialogue that went on. A lot of conversations, a lot of man hours were spent reading this and fine-tuning this. It just didn't happen overnight. So on behalf of the board, I'm extremely grateful for the process and being part of it. So thank you.
Commissioner Harris.
Just sort of add on to what Fred said. This is a milestone, and when we first came out with this, there's no way we can come up and do this in a year. And thanks to Dewberry and a lot of meetings and a lot of effort, we have put this together. We're not done. This is not one of these studies, which I've got a stack of them in my office, that just goes on the shelf and starts collecting dust. This is our roadmap and a plan, and just as the action that brought us to this point, we expect that action to continue on. So this isn't just like I said, something that goes on a shelf and gathers stuff. We already have $100 million that we're moving forward on, that these projects are included in this plan, as well as the upper A meet restoration that Paul had outlined is in this plan. We're planning on continuing to move with the group that Fred had mentioned, how these parishes are pulling together all in the same direction. So the commission is well served.
Any more comments? Commissioner Bailey?
Considering all, this is a significant milestone, and we want to thank everybody who participated. And most importantly, when you have these public hearings, please put some things in layman's terms so people understand. But most importantly, put the dollar value, this page that explains the dollar value, what's being saved and what's projected for saving over a period of time. Thank you.
Okay, any more comments? Myself personally, serving as president of the board and working through this, it's been an honor. This is a significant milestone. We've needed this master plan. And it's not only our master plan, it's y'all's master plan. It's based on local input from stakeholders, our local leaders and the parishes that occupy the Amite River Basin, who've provided recommendations on what needs to be done. Now, we have a steering mechanism that's going to help guide our current and future efforts. And, for flood protection and conservation, that's going to survive current leadership, future leaderships. It'll be there. Even when we may not be here, we won't have to keep reinventing the wheel. We'll have continuity. So that's why it's important. And everybody should be proud. A lot of hard work, each and every one of us, and our contractors in this crunch time. How many months were we had? 4 months. It's incredible. So thank you all. Commissioner Felito?
I failed to mention Garvin too, because he headed up the committee, so thank you also.
And Garvin is with the Water Institute. He is contracted to help us with our LWI Region 9 Watershed Coordinator efforts and our ARBC Master Plan Coordinator efforts. Thanks. I echo that. All right. Next item under old business is ARBC contractor, Mr. Garvin Pittman with the Water Institute.
There we go. Before I get started with my discussion, that as a lifelong resident, many generational resident of this watershed, I thank you all for coming together and putting this master plan together and for approving it. And if you may pardon the pun, this is a watershed event for this district. I also thank Dewberry for all their work, and I thank you for letting me be a small part of this effort. But as for my activities over the last month, it was another light month for me and for the Water Institute on behalf of the Amite River Basin Commission. I participated in one meeting with the Master Plan Committee and did one quick review of the Master Plan update. There were no Louisiana Watershed Initiative Coordinator meetings last month. I don't know what's happened to those, but they have fallen off the schedule. I reviewed 3 months of Dewberry invoices for President Clark, Sawyer's approval. One invoice from ARBC to CPRA was approved yesterday. And I have here another one that I put together and was approved by Mr. Sawyer and Mr. Clark that I'll be submitting today on behalf of. And off the clock, a couple of interesting things to note for you. Next week, I'll be moderating a session at the State of the Coast. One of the presentations in that session, which I have not yet seen, is a presentation by a PhD candidate student here in Louisiana who is studying methane flux out of the Amite River into Lake Maurepas through Pass. I'm eager to see it. I asked her for a preview of it, and I haven't been able to get that from her, but if there's anything interesting out of it, I'll let you. Secondly, off the clock, for you, I was having a conversation with a national expert in carbon crediting. I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but I asked him, after we were finished our conversation, I asked him his thought on converting the gravel mines, the abandoned gravel mines, into a carbon crediting project. He said that that is a very classic example of something that is done through the carbon crediting mechanism and carbon credits sold on the international market. However, it's a very long-term investment. There is still, you would be tending with uncertainties in the legal and regulatory market, as well as uncertainties with what would happen, whatever you there. But it is a viable option. He did say he would be happy to speak with any representatives if that was something you wanted.
Okay, thank you, Carvin. Any questions? Commissioner Kluwat.
Yeah, real quick, Parish President, Quintmore problem. There's a little, we got a open house, a little carbon crediting for anybody that has any interest through the chamber coming up. Yeah, I'd have to look it up, but if you look at the Central Chamber, there's somebody giving a good presentation on it.
It's exciting times, carbon credits, not to be confused with carbon sequestration, but I think carbon credits through plants, trees.
Right.
Any restoration efforts should be given some carbon credits because they are actually removing CO2 from the air to make, to grow and to give off oxygen.
I think the Corps of Engineers, when you're talking to the Corps of Engineers, Gordon may know that they may have some back doing any project.
The state of Louisiana, through the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, is leading that effort in the state right now.
Yeah, aren't they doing something with the restoration along the coast with the mangroves and such as that?
Not here yet.
Okay. All right. Any more comments, questions? Good discussion. Thank you, Garvin. Doing a good job.
Thank you.
All right. Continuing under old business is the Comite River Diversion Canal Project. Any updates, Paul? I think you've pretty much covered it in your executive
Nothing
report.
that I would add to what I've already said.
Yes, okay. All right, moving on to new business. We have our first item is Mr. Larry Bankston and Associates. His contract's up for renewal. And we need a resolution, pass a resolution to approve. Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Quintmall and 2 seconds by, no, I have a second by Commissioner Delott. Any opposition to not approve? Okay, this passes. Thank you, Larry. All right, next item is appointing of a committee for our officers coming up. It's been 2 years since we started the new board, and it's time to nominate a committee to serve the new board. And for the committee, I would like to nominate Commissioner Rayford, Commissioner Quintmall, Commissioner Delott, and Commissioner Parker, and Commissioner Harrell for a selection committee for our new officers for the Amite River Basin Commission, which will be voted upon at our next meeting in June. You guys okay with that? Can I have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Delott, second by Commissioner Bailey. Any opposition? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, under new business, hopefully, commissioners, you've provided your ethics financial disclosures. You're required a Tier 2.1. It's going to be due May 15th, so you got a little bit of time, if not much, if you hadn't passed that, hadn't provided that. And you have to submit it to more than just Tony. You got to submit it to the ethics department. Just a little reminder. So that brings us to closing in. We would like to hear any public comments from our visiting public. Anybody want to come up and speak, or the good, the bad, or from the board? Any general comments in general? Okay, hearing no comments, I'd like a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Harris and second by Commissioner Quintmall. Any opposition to leaving the meeting today? Thank you, guys.